Welcome back. And I see the notes. Somebody wrote notes. We started the day with a brain teaser to get your brain ready, right? Where would you place the armor? Where are you going to place the armor, right? You place the armor where the holes are or where the holes are not. And of course, we want to put the armor on the edges. There aren't as many holes on the edges, but that's where we need to concentrate, right? And I use that to get our brains ready for this section where we're looking at this return, looking at those 20 pages and try to learn the taxpayer, know the taxpayer, and find the risk and review the return. When we get to Chapter 7, we'll review it again. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about a few areas of it within these middle chapters of the day to clear some of those review points already. But we'll get to the end of it in Chapter 7 and look at the final review and some of the things. But again, it's designed to, somebody wrote a thing and they said, what are you trying to do? So first give us the brain teaser in the morning and then you give us all these. And then, well, trying to get people in the mental frame to be a reviewer. The mental frame to be a reviewer. Now, I'm up to page 139 then, and we have just a few minutes in Chapter 1. And then we'll start into Chapter 2. We'll do lunch break here in a few minutes. Keep the audio on. And I'm all the way up to page 1-39. And we actually already saw this slide. I referenced this slide when we were in the anatomy of a review. And this is the analysis of a draft tax return. The opening review steps, right? We're looking at the engagement letter, disclosure, returning, is it a returning client? So we'll pass through that one, go to page 140, and it says schedules. This is where I mentioned this one when we were in the anatomy, and I said we could get to it. Schedules for the client or staff to review, to prepare, to make review easier. The organizer in the questionnaire is obviously the first. I mean, the organizer in the questionnaire are just vital in an efficient, effective review. I put also here a practice note. In prior days, prior to the advent of the personal computer, tax clients had occasion to appear at an annual meeting with their tax return preparer, holding a shoebox or shopping bag filled with receipts. Don't fall into that trap. There are still taxpayers out there who will not fill out an organizer and who want to do what we call a shoebox or shopping bag policy. And I'll be honest, it's not a good process. It's just not good. One function of the organizer is efficiency, which eliminates the need for the shoebox. Another purpose is effectiveness, serves as a memory jogger to clients as they gather their information. Some practitioners have lost efficiency and effectiveness by downplaying the need to have this prepared by the client. So again, as much as we can, we want the client to do that. Here are some other schedules, try to make it easier. Capital gains schedules obviously are nice. Now let me couple the capital gains schedule with the shoebox policy schedule. Actually, I had a client years ago. Now this was before we had the capital gain law software that we have today. This was a taxpayer who was a traveling salesperson, and he set up like a Scottrade and Ameritrade account that he would do day trading. Well, he wasn't technically a day trader, but he would travel, so he would be at hotels and that. And partially out of boredom, he told me, he would get on his computer and start looking up stocks. He might buy one and sell one. So, and this was sort of at the beginning of that, as the internet took off and people could do that. So he brought a shopping bag to me with all these capital gains and losses because it wasn't summarized. He used three different Scottrade, Ameritrade, I forget what the other one was. And this was early in the game, so they didn't summarize the capital gains yet. And he tried giving me this bag, and I said, I'm not going to take that. You got to fill this out. I showed him how to do it on Excel. buy date, sell date, purchase price, sales price, gain or loss, long-term or short-term. And he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. And I said, well, okay, I'll do it. He said, isn't that what I hired you for? Isn't that what I hired you? And I said, okay, sure. But you're getting extended because there were a lot of them in the bag. It ended up there were 324. 324 buys and sells. Oh, and he didn't have the buy and sell flip together. He did, they're all intermingled. So you have, okay, there's one. It's like the concentration game. Oh, wait a minute, I think I pulled this one out already. And then I can match it buy and sell, then put it together. And I said, I will do that for you if you wish, but you'll get an extension because I'm not going to be able to do it straight until the summer. But I need to be paid in advance, and it's going to be whatever I charged you last year to do this return, plus $50 per transaction, which there were 324. 324, about $16,000. And he said, what? You're going to charge me $17,000 for my tax return? But, and I said, sure. I need, because it's going to take, we're going to go through this. Do you want to do it yourself? Do you want to do it? He said, yeah, I'm not going to have you do it for that price, so we took it away. He called me in the summer and said, okay, I've got the schedule ready. And he said, I went to like 4 different people, and they all told me the same thing. They all told me, we're not going to do that. That's going to be, no shoebox. Don't do the shoebox policy. We don't want that. Obviously, depreciation schedules, mortgage interest basis schedules, all these would be good items to carry forward. Page 4 on the rapid review checklist. So paragraph 4 of the rapid review is on page 140 at the bottom. Review the client provided information, name, social security number, watch for age, the name change, watch for name changes that have occurred. We have to make sure it was Social Security Administration. Earned income and child credit, to make sure that we check ID numbers. Now this is what? Maybe we're up to almost a dozen of these tips so far. This one is a very important one. Well, they're all very important, but this one's even more important. And it says this, what's our goal today? Our goal today is to take new reviewers and help them develop a strategy. Help them to develop a review strategy. Now, when you're developing your review strategy, I want you to always remember this. We talked about you can't be willfully blind. We cannot be willfully blind. We also can't be mentally tired. A reviewer's attitude must always be sharp, even for seemingly mundane vouching. You have to adopt the attitude of an auditor. Concentrating just upon vouching seemingly mundane items, the reviewer can find errors, such as spelling errors, errors in names and addresses, transposition errors in social security numbers. I had one taxpayer come to me one year, and they spelled the name wrong of their children. Not the first name, the last name. They spelled the last name of the children wrong. It was the same as the taxpayer. Had it right on the taxpayer's return. Had it right in the taxpayer's name. Okay, it was I'll be honest with you, it wasn't the easiest spelling of the word, but the last name was spelled incorrect. Simple items such as address and filing status can cause serious errors. Say a divorced couple that reunites, they're going to be single taxpayers. They're a divorced couple that reunited. They're single taxpayers, but they have the same address. And that can cause trouble for alimony. Address it, make sure the address, just review things for address, dependents, income sources, Form W-2, things like this. Due diligence, does the return include any of these things that return? Due diligence, if so, attached to 66, 67, and of course, which we already went over in chapter 8, that 66, 67 has a strict due diligence requirement to keep all those records. And we better satisfy all those rules. Earlier in this chapter, I'm up to page 42. I mentioned that I had additional procedures for new clients. Additional procedures for new clients. And so here are a couple of them. Prior to accepting new clients, many offices complete a vetting process. That should be done. The vetting process, what's its purpose? Is to try to get to know the client. Sometimes many offices will require a full retainer for a new client. If that's your office policy, make sure you follow office policy. For new clients, has the client been accepted? We always like to know how the client learned of our office, if they were referred, who referred you, and if they have a retainer. Now, I have another tip for new reviewers. It's on page 142. I don't have it in my slides, but there's been a couple that I don't have in the slides. But this is on the bottom of 142. It says this: if you have a new client that comes to your office, and we need to get to know the client, right? We must get to know the client. What's one of the things? We ask for prior year's returns, right? We ask for previous returns. Now here's a tip for a new reviewer in the box. For new clients, it's customary to receive copies of prior year returns. In many cases, the client can easily obtain last year's return. But if it's a self-prepared return, if the client prepared it themselves, I always like more than 1 year. I like a couple of years worth of returns if they prepared them themselves. In many cases, self-prepared returns are lacking in detail, such as passive versus non-passive analysis, carryover information, and basis calculations. A review of as many prior years as possible is highly suggested. So if I have a client that comes to me, and I've had them come to me before, self-prepared taxpayers, and I don't want a copy of just last year's return. I want, give me, what can you find for them? Do you have 3 or 4 or 5 of them? Helps me get to know you better. I'm not necessarily saying I'm amending them. I'm just I'm looking for self-prepared returns. They might be doing things wrong. This wasn't even a self-prepared return. I inherited a return from that. He had a practice, a professional was preparing it, and I only got the prior year return, and they had done the prior year return wrong. So I said, hey, this was wrong last year. Can I get 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And he got them. They had done it wrong for, 5 years in a row because it was put in their program one way 5 years ago, and they just kept following it. They just kept putting it in the same box in their software. And it was wrong for 5 years. They were calling it an investment non-passive when it was actually passive. It was clearly non-passive. I mean, it was clearly a passive item. But somehow they checked the box in their system that said it was passive, that said it was not passive, when it really was passive. Caused a big problem. That caused mistakes. Page 143, additional procedures for delinquent clients. This may require more study because I want to know why they're delinquent. I want to know why you're delinquent. Is there a possibility of tax evasion? Are there indications the delinquent client is involved in willful tax evasion? If yes, stop. Stop what you're doing if there's a possibility of tax evasion. Your office may not want to be associated with that client. Verify a detailed engagement letter if you're doing delinquent clients' returns. Verify a detailed engagement letter noting years of delinquent returns requested is signed by the taxpayer's spouse. In other words, you don't want a client coming in and saying, I haven't filed in 3 years. And you say, okay, we'll file those 3 years returns for you. And then you find out that they haven't filed for 23 years. And they say, well, I hired an accountant to fix it, to help me fix it, and he only did 3 years. Additional procedures for delinquent clients, you have to watch for protected. There are limitations on when we can get refunds. A lot of times it's easiest to get transcripts. You get copies of returns from the IRS. And as a matter of fact, to get transcripts to the IRS website, I don't know if you recall, it was shut down because it was hacked into in 2015. You can always get transcripts by mail, but now some of the get transcripts is also open and you can get it at the IRS. Then there are a couple of wrap-up procedures if you wish to go with clients. All right, let's start chapter 2. A little bit here before lunch. As we discussed in chapter 1, we had an anatomy of a review for non-complicated returns and then one for complicated returns. Although the considerations in chapter 1 are broad but efficient, very little time is used in that analysis, which is true, because those are broad and efficient reviews. They may be invaluable in planning and executing a quality review for uncomplicated returns. However, many returns are not boilerplate. Clientele find deeper and straighter at least earned income. They'll also have saving deductions. And as the return becomes more complicated, we have to review, the review process becomes more voluminous. As noted in chapter 1, the initial test the reviewer must satisfy is you must know the client. This chapter has additional steps in accomplishing that goal, and the theme is, what is the age of the taxpayer? We want to know the client. And one way to know the client is, how old are you? This is the note box on page 2-1. Concentrating just upon ages, of the reviewers. The reviewer may find young taxpayers might have new children. Well, that means it's not in last year's pro forma. I have to add it to this year's information to get it into the system. Taxpayers with Schedule C trades or businesses may be able to hire their spouse and children under 18. Hiring a child in 2017, Schedule C owners can reduce their own net income and self-employment tax, while the child is exempt from payroll taxes. In addition, the child can earn up to $11,850 and with an IRA deduction of $5,500, still have zero tax liability. Now, so you can reduce your income Schedule C filer by $11,850, and you reduce your regular income and self-employment income. And how much does the child pay in payroll taxes? Nothing, because the child is a Schedule C taxpayer. And how much do they pay in regular taxes? Nothing. This is a win-win-win for Schedule C taxpayers and hiring children. It's a quadruple win, because they reduce regular and self-employment tax, and the child is not taxed for payroll taxes or regular income. Now that's by utilizing an IRA. How do I get it? $5,500 for an IRA, right? and $6,350 for standard deduction. For the standard deduction. Now, they don't get a personal exception. Wouldn't get a personal exception, but they get the standard deduction. Standard deduction is what? Earned income plus 300, not to exceed 6,350. So they get 6,350 plus the 5,500 to an IRA. They can shelter in up to $11,850. Now, when children reach age 16, 18, 23, when taxpayers reach their peak earning years, when they're in the sandwich generations, which is the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there are issues with each of those. When I'm in the sandwich generation, somebody that's 50, I say sandwich because you can have people that you're taking care of, the young children, and your parents who are older. There are issues with each. We have taxpayers that are in their 50s that are supporting their parents. Now, they might not be able to claim their parents as a dependent, but there's different types of dependency. They can claim them as a medical dependent and still not claim them as a dependent. But if they're paying their medical expenses, they can still take those. How about children age 16 and 18 and 23? Well, this is where the 23-year-old taxpayer, the one I told you before, if that's a college senior and they have the American Opportunity Tax Credit, and the taxpayer is going to lose $3,000 worth of benefit next year, I want to tell the taxpayer. When they're 70 and a half, they have to understand minimum distribution rules. When they're in their peak earning years, right? What are the peak earning years? Generally between 35 and 55. When you're in your peak earning years, those are the years that we tell clients for doing an effective and efficient review. You should be maxing retirement accounts. You should be maxing those retirement accounts. If you can start earlier and no longer do it, it works. Another effective tip on the next page, remember, January 1st is always considered the last, for tax purposes anyway, January 1st is considered the last day of the last year. So a child born January 1st, 2000 is considered to be age 18 at the end of 2017, even though they really don't turn 18 until 1/1 of 2018. They turn 18 in 2018 on January 1st, but they're considered 18 even though they're only 7 for the whole year. Same thing is true for January 1 birthdays. All the way down to January 1, 1953 is considered age 65 at the end of 2017, even though they don't really turn 65 until the next day. Many of these items are repetitive year after year. Your address doesn't change. Family size doesn't always change. Filing status doesn't change. Sources of income normally don't change. If they have foreign accounts, they have them, and that normally doesn't change. Many of these things, and how do we get to know that? We know the tax. Same with the remarriage. If they remarry, we might ask a question about designated beneficiaries. Now, I think that brings us up to the lunch hour, and we are right at advanced review of dependents. And that's okay. How these last chapters work, and that I actually have it detailed at the beginning of chapter 3. But how this is going to work is I just sort of do a tour of areas that experienced reviewers have told us. It's a tour of areas where experienced reviewers and myself, probably 500 years of review experience, where we sat down and said, where do staff people that are preparing returns, where do they make mistakes? To let the new reviewer who is trying to develop their strategy know where they are making mistakes. Okay? So a lot of this, we'll just tour things here and there. I'm not going to go over every issue of dependents. You know how dependents are. You qualifying child, qualifying relative. You know what the rules are. But I'm looking for some of those areas where people mess up. Like in this slide here. Children of divorced parents. The review step is, and then remember, the 8867 asks if you're taking child credit, you got to have to make sure you have documentation. But if you're a non-custodial parent and you want to take a child that's independent after 2008, let's get the stick in 8332. It's that simple. If you're a non-custodial parent, just get the stick in 8332. It's that simple. All right? And that's what we're going to do the rest of the chapter, the rest of the day, until we get to chapter 7 and we'll finalize it. Now, along the way, we'll hit some of these items that were in the mortgage return, and we'll cover them before we get there. So, Allie, if you are ready, we are ready for our lunch break. If you give me a 60-minute clock somewhere, hopefully that the people can see. So there's my 60-minute clock. Have a nice lunch. I'll see you in a minute.